everybody, and welcome to Tony the Mole Adams YouTube channel. Now, some of you have got keen eyes, might know that the quality of this show has gone up a bit in recent weeks because I've got a brand new camera. And I've also got a new mic here, right? But I went to use the camera just then, and I must have left it on last time, so it's flat, isn't it? So it's back to the laptop and back to the earpods for this episode, Tony. But people don't watch this show for our technical prowess. They don't watch the show because Tony's head is in the middle of the screen, which it isn't at the moment. They watch it for the content. So Tony, Vegas, it's been announced. How do you think those 6 clubs will go? Will they bring as many fans as last year?
Well, I think the 4 NRL clubs are all big tribes, whereas this year Cronulla not the biggest tribe. The Warriors probably brought plenty.
Canberra?
Penrith, big tribe. Canberra probably one of the smaller ones, whereas Cowboys are massive. Dragons are huge.
So Canterbury,
New. Well, they're all big tribes, all 4 of them. I don't know about the 2 English ones. Well, how do they rate?
Well, I think Leeds have got a lot of no. They're the obvious next to the numbers wise. I think so. So hopefully they can at least match last year. Of course, no women's game, but that's not a surprise, is it?
No, but it's a bit of a shame, isn't it? Like, we're trying to grow the women's game. And I thought, even though it was 91-0 or whatever, it was entertaining. I mean, people came to see women run the length of the field, score tries, and hit each other, and they got to see it.
I don't think anyone kicked a field goal, Tony. It was 9. Your column, Midweek Scoops, is back. And interesting item about Matt Fuller, who was at the Reds in the early days, played at Western Suburbs as well, the Sheep. He's a denizen of West Australian Rugby League. And he has a tip who the Perth Bears have to sign, their first signing, a recommendation. Who does he reckon?
Yeah, and he's an inaugural Western Red 30 years ago this year. How time flies. I still remember that first win against St George at the Wacker. He captained the Reds, and he's been living in Perth ever since. So he's got a bit of clout over there. And the 2 guys he reckons you build the club around are Trell, which a little bit of a controversial one, I guess, but there's no doubting Latrell's ability, and probably played his best game for South last week against the Broncos. So good timing from the Sheep. And the other one, Isaiah Yeo, such a great character. I think is he the current Golden Boot?
He is, yes.
Yeah. So, and, an ideal captain. So probably he's chosen well, one strike impact player and one leader of men. And he said, you sign those 2, more good players will follow. So it's a big ask, but if they can get those 2 across, it's a great start for the Western Bears.
Now, Tony, I want to show the viewers this because it's a post for a Facebook group called Bears Perth. And the picture is a bunch of kind of middle-aged men, some of them quite hairy-chested. And it says here, Bears Perth is a social group of men established in 1993 and incorporated as Bears Perth. We are not associated with the newly announced NRL club called Perth Bears. Please do not sign up for membership if you are here to join the rugby club. Bears Perth is a social club for male and male presenting people over the age of 18. And if you looked at the picture, you would get an impression of what the term bear has a different meaning in the sort of gay community.
Oh, okay.
And so
B-A-R-E, is it?
They're getting sick of people. No, not B-A-R-E. Tony. You always take things one step too far. Always. No. But anyway, so yeah, they're getting deluged with people wanting to join because they think it's about the newest team in the NRL. So don't go to Bears Perth if you want to follow what Matt Fuller has to say.
Well, if it was B-A-R-E, I would have signed up today.
You kind of fit the description of a bear, I think, Tony. Like, maybe like a teddy bear. Maybe,
like a tiger.
Tell us about James Maloney. James Maloney, they had these sort of functions for corporate functions, don't they? Around Magic Round, and James Maloney got up and spoke, and he said a few injudicious things. Is that right?
He said a few interesting things. Let's put it that way. He's always been a very say it as you see it type James Maloney, isn't he? And always very popular to interview after games because he called a spade, and they asked him who the best coach he played under was, and he went through all the coaches, and I don't know what the actual answer was, but one interesting thing was he said one of the coaches he played under had absolutely no idea at all, and it was the players who coached the team and led it to some success. I'm not going to name the guy because I think it's embarrassing, and it was at a closed lunch sort of thing, and Maloney probably didn't think it would appear in the press. So I'm not going to name and shame the guy, but it certainly created plenty of interest in Magic Round.
Not real smart in the modern era, though, when everyone's got a mobile phone, is it, to say anything to a room full of people that you don't want to get out? So he's maybe dodged a little bit of a bullet there. Now, Tony, this fella, now I could pretend that I knew all about him, even though he's played a couple of first grade games, but I got to admit, I didn't. So I don't want to be deceptive with the viewers, even though there's a little edit in the middle of this program. But Lycan King Tongia, who played for the Dragons, played, as you said, a couple of first grade games for the Dragons. He's gone to Newcastle, has he? And what's the story there?
Well, this is the interesting part. We know the Knights are having terrible trouble with their playmakers. They targeted this guy. They signed this guy, but he's backflipped. They've got this rule where you can a cooling off period. I think it's like buying a car. Do you still have those cooling off periods when you buy a car?
Long time since I bought a car, Tony.
Yeah,
If I ever bought one. Did I ever buy a car?
Anyway, he put pen to paper with the Knights, and then St George put him in first grade, and he's backflipped. He's staying at the Dragons and signed a 2-year deal. 20 years old, played well at halfback last weekend, and looks to be a good prospect. I think it's King Togia.
King Togia. And it is interesting, isn't it, Tony? Because what is the approach when a guy tells you he's leaving? Do you dump him to reserve grade for the rest of the year, or do you put, if he hasn't played first grade yet, you put him in first grade and he might change his mind? It's an interesting tactic.
Yeah, it is. Or you bag him on social media with his teammates. There's all sorts of ways to handle this situation, and it's coming up more and more often. But I called it a smart bit of man management by the Dragons, and they obviously schmoozed him over, and he's staying.
And finally, a very famous name could be back at South Sydney soon, Tony.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Sean Garlick, who's a good mate of yours and mine, and a very successful pie maker, Garlo's Pies. He captained Souths in the 1990s. His son Bronson has been doing a good job at the Storm, replacing Harry Grant, who now comes back this week. But I've been told Bronson is rejoining the Rabbits. He actually started his career there in the under-23s way back in 2014. He's 29 years old, so he'll bring some experience there, and he'll put some pressure on the incumbent Peter Mazamolis for the number 9 jersey at South next year.
Mamouzelos, I think it's pronounced, the Greek international.
Greek international, that's it.
Now that's all for our show for now, Tony. We had a little bit of a break at the start of the week. You were sorting out your social media accounts. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And Women's State of Origin is on tomorrow as we record this. So I really do hope we'll have time for one more chat before the weekend, Tony. I tend to say that on a Wednesday and then we get very busy. But let's have a go at one more chat this week, eh?
Sounds good. And for those who want to know, I reckon the Blues will blitz them and win the series. They were far too good in game one. Queensland only made the one change. I think they needed to make wholesale changes the way they played. So unless there's a big reversal of form, the Blues to win.
Maybe we'll have a chat after that match and people can gloat. You can gloat if you're right and everyone else can gloat if you're wrong. Okay.
Well, I tipped Queensland in game one as certainties and ended up with egg all over my face. So I'm trying to save face here.
See you next time, everybody.